It's about a global crisis that almost nobody saw coming, a real tale of two seemingly separate disasters that collided to create just absolute economic chaos.
You had a slow-burning tech famine on one side of the globe and a sudden geopolitical explosion on the other. Now, on their own, each one was a huge problem, but when they hit at the same time, that's what created the perfect storm for the entire global economy.
To really wrap our heads around how we got here, we've got to look at these two stories separately. Let's start with the crisis that was brewing deep inside our technology, the one that left all these businesses fighting for scraps.
So the first part of the storm was basically a tech tsunami. It was driven by the world's absolutely insatiable hunger for artificial intelligence, a demand so huge it actually started to break the system.
And we're not just talking about a minor supply crunch here. No. This was a full-blown famine that completely warped the entire market, hitting everything from PCs to your smartphone. The speed of the price explosion was, well, it was just staggering. The research firm TrendForce was forecasting a nearly 95% price jump for DRAM in a single quarter. Think about that. The price almost doubled in just a few months.
This volatility led to something pretty radical, a practice they started calling hourly pricing. And yeah, it's as crazy as it sounds. Imagine you get a quote for parts, and if you don't pay up front, like right then and there, the price could jump again just minutes later. It put all the smaller companies in a totally impossible position. So what this did was create this two-tiered market. You had the giants, think Apple, Samsung, all the major cloud providers. They had the muscle to secure their supply. But then you had over 190,000 smaller businesses who were effectively locked out, just left to fight over whatever was left.
All right, so that's the tech side of things. Now let's pivot to our second storm. This one was brewing in one of the most volatile, most strategically important waterways on the entire planet. A totally different kind of crisis, but with an equally devastating potential.
This right here, this is the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest point, it's just 21 miles wide. But don't let that fool you. It's the critical choke point for about 20% of the world's daily oil supply. And in late February 2026, it became the epicenter of a geopolitical earthquake. The situation just exploded. It escalated with shocking speed. I mean, we're talking a matter of days. On February 28th, you have joint U.S. and Israeli airstrikes hitting Iran. Within hours, Iran's Revolutionary Guard is warning off all shipping. By March 1st, they're actually attacking commercial vessels. And by the 2nd, the strait was officially declared closed. Just like that.
And the immediate impact was just enormous. You're talking about a fifth of the world's oil, huge volumes of natural gas, and about 1.4% of the entire global container fleet. All of it suddenly trapped or unable to get through. A vital artery for global trade was completely sealed off.
Okay, so this is it. This is the heart of our story. This is where our two converging paths just slam right into one another, turning two regional crises into one massive global catastrophe. I mean, just think about the timing. It's the textbook definition of a perfect storm. The energy shock from Hormuz closing, it hit the tech supply chain at its absolute weakest point. You have an industry already reeling from component famines and these insane hourly price hikes, and now it's facing a logistics nightmare. And this wasn't just some abstract threat, you know? The chaos was real. It was immediate. This wasn't just posturing. Vessels of all types were being targeted within the first few days of March. The economic risk of trying to pass through there just became way too high for anyone.
So the result of all this? Well, those memory chips, the ones that were already becoming ridiculously expensive, were now also stuck at sea or on the completely wrong side of a blockade. The cost to move them, if you could even move them at all, was now going through the roof.
With the two crises now completely fused together, the dominoes really started to fall, sending these massive shockwaves through the entire global economy.
The most immediate impact, obviously, was on energy. Oil prices just surged. You had analysts at places like Barclays and Goldman Sachs warning that prices could top $100 a barrel if the strait stayed closed. And that just fed all these fears of a worldwide recession.
And this just set off a whole chain reaction. That energy spike threatened a new wave of inflation, which made it harder for central banks to cut interest rates. Shipping lines started declaring force majeure, which is basically them telling customers, hey, your cargo is your problem now, and then they tack on huge surcharges. And the end result? Well, Gartner projected a drop of over 10% in PC shipments alone, all because of this perfect storm.
When you step back and look at it, the perfect storm of 2026 was a brutal lesson in just how interconnected and fragile our modern world really is. It showed us that a tech problem in one corner of the globe and a conflict in another can combine to bring almost everything to a halt, which leaves us with a really critical question for the future.